Hi folks, Roach here. Still in the wood shop. We had the big meeting today with the agents for the U.S. Treasury and with an agent with the IRS, and there were other law enforcement people around. And I was there with the lovely Beebles. The Beebles is my friend. She's been probably my most important friend in my life, and of course, Beebles was all excited, and I was all excited before the meeting. We thought, hey, wow, we have an opportunity to hear to actually get something constructive done, and so we drove over there, and we got this big packet of paper, and we were gonna substantiate everything that we said, because we actually thought that there was going to be somebody there that was authoritative, and had the law behind them, and had at least a sufficient working knowledge of the law to understand what we were attempting to relate. And technically, the meeting was almost over before it started. The IRS revenue agent started handing me papers and telling me that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I really wanted to know, and I thought it was reasonable to ask that all of the stuff that he wanted me to do. I wanted to know why, and I also wanted to know exactly what it was that I was agreeing to. And of course, he didn't have any of that information. And this is what I've been asking for all along. So it got down to it got pretty heated there. I was emotional. Of course, here I am. I'm talking to a brick wall, and I'm getting no meaningful reaction. I mean, and in fact, I actually asked him if he would be so kind as to actually just hear me out, and he couldn't do that. He had about a 6-second attention span, and he didn't come there to listen. Okay, so I he told me, he says, "Oh yeah, I've heard it all before," he said. And wow, I mean, that's amazing to me, because I've never been able to read somebody else's mind or know what they were going to say before they said it. But hey, maybe that's the reason why these guys got power over us, because they can do those sorts of things. So yeah, I really wasn't convinced that he really knew what I was going to say. So he thought I was just wasting his time, and I understand if he thought that, and that's okay. But he just couldn't listen, and he said that he didn't want to hear my philosophy. Okay, so well, okay, you don't want to hear my philosophy, but see, he expected me to agree with his philosophy, right? See, I believe in things that are real, that I can see, taste, touch, smell, that I can see in precedent, in law, over and over again. Stuff I can hold on to, that I don't have to guess. I want to know what contracts are out there. I want to know what terms and conditions that I'm agreeing to. And he didn't bring the IRS code with him. I don't think he's really read the whole thing. He didn't bring the USC with him, or the Consolidated Federal Regulations with him. And I don't think that he actually knew what was in it, because if he did, there'd really be no need for the meeting at all. So it was, I guess it was a disagreement of philosophy. I didn't agree with his philosophy, and here's why. See, his philosophy is based on the theory of legal positivism. Theory, the word comes from theo, ria, which is to contemplate, and the subword, the base word is theo. And if you look at theology, that's the ology is the study of, that's the study of the God, or lowercase God. Okay, that's the study of God. So legal positivism is the theory that man makes rules, man makes the law. You know, that, if he can think it up in his head, that's it. It's real. It's real law. I don't believe man actually thought up the law of gravity. I think gravity exists regardless if men are actually thinking about it. And to me, gravity is one of those sort of real things that I could witness over and over. So it has real substance, right? So I was supposed to believe that the things like persons that exist only in people's minds, which are basically a stack of paper, I'm supposed to believe that those are real. And of course, honestly, he apparently he wasn't listening to me because he expected me to be a person, and I understand what the problem is. So he handed me a piece of paper and he said, "Consider yourself served." So I said, "Okay." I says, "Well, okay, I can consider it." So I considered it, and I decided that I wasn't served. And the reason why I wasn't served is because, hey, all is fair here. I mean, we're all reasonable men. I served him back on April 13th, right, Friday the 13th, 2012, and I served his withholding agent in the presence of two competent witnesses, and they didn't respond at all. Not in any kind of meaningful way, and they still haven't actually substantiated anything that I actually said in the notice of intent. And I thought, at this meeting here, they had this wonderful opportunity to do that because, shoot, that's been almost 6 months ago, or 4 or 5 months ago. And I've been patient, I've been waiting, and nobody has been able to do that. So I kind of think that I'm right when I say they don't have the lawful authority to do that, because they haven't refuted that at all. They've intimidated me, and they've talked over me and done all kinds of things, but they really haven't done what they really should have done, and that is substantiate their lawful authority in a meaningful way. And I've been looking through their code, and it's encrypted, and I think it's encrypted just specifically to make it hard to understand. So the summons, which was kind of interesting, it's a summons to appear. Okay, and to summon is to conjure, through witchcraft, which makes pretty good sense because they want a person to appear. I have a hard time appearing because I haven't yet mastered the ability to disappear. So for me to appear in court, like an apparition, I'm going to have trouble actually complying with that. I'm afraid that if I do appear, that I'm going to break the law, because I'm not supposed to engage in witchcraft, because technically I don't think it's a good idea, to try to make things that exist in my mind real. I'd like to see them do it. If they can, I would be amazed, and I might even listen to them. If they could make a rhinoceros appear just because they think it in their head, right in front of me, I think at that point, boy, they'd have my attention. But until they can do that, I'm going to stick with what's real. So I actually looked up the word apparition in dictionaryreference.com, and it was actually pretty interesting, and it actually showed me. It gave me an indication of what the problem is here. Apparition is a noun, and it says a supernatural appearance of a person or a thing, especially a ghost, a specter, or a phantom, wraith, or ghostly apparition, or a wraith. And it says a ghostly apparition at midnight, and that's the use of the word. And he says anything that appears, especially something remarkable or startling. He says the surprising apparition of the cowboys in New York City. He says an act of appearing, manifestation. See, manifestation. Okay, so that's what they want me to do. And I noticed that it was actually funny that the first thing this definition says is a supernatural appearance of a person. Yeah, that would be supernatural because, especially if you actually look at, what they consider a person. A person is a piece of paper that has, it's an idea in people's minds. So they want me to appear, but I doubt very seriously that they're going to understand exactly what they're asking for. They haven't yet understood what they were asking for. So I'm dealing with people who think things that exist in their head are going to appear. I guess what they consider remedy in that case is if I fail to appear, which is probably a certainty, unless I learn how to disappear in the meantime in November, then I probably won't be able to appear. But who knows? I mean, anything can happen. I might learn how to do that, and then hey, hey, it's still out on that. Hey, stranger things have happened apparently, especially to them. I guess things are appearing for them out of their minds all the time. I'm afraid that's nuts. Okay, that's insanity. If they actually think that, but yeah, okay. Hey, who am I to say? It's their philosophy. If they want to believe it, that's them. So basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to fail to appear, and they said that the U.S. Marshals will come and take care of it. So apparently that's just the process. And they seem to think that that's a reasonable remedy. Okay, so I've been saying that, hey, for them to have substantiation in law, they either demonstrate the lawful authority of the foundation upon which they're based, meaning the federal government of the United States, proving lawful continuity to the republic, and the fact that all of the agents acting there are bound strictly to the Constitution. And they can't do that. I've observed that the government, the federal government of the United States, is really not bound to the Constitution. In fact, the executive, the president actually said that it was, and I quote, just a goddamn piece of paper. So I don't think they're really abiding by it. So that would be the only way that they could have, they can claim consensual, lawful government by the consent of the people. So they haven't shown me that. So they are still, the burden of proof is still on them. So the U.S. Marshals then, he said, could take me before a judge, which will be an interesting trick because I know a judge, at least here in Williamson County, he couldn't do that. And he was an outstanding man, and he wasn't prepared to do that. So I don't think that they're going to have the power to actually, force me into a venue against my will. So they're going to be kind of surprised at that. But from my perspective, I'm pretty much done with the whole thing. All right, so I done what it was that I came here to do, and I have to conclude right now that because I've afforded them every opportunity to act in a way that a group of 12 people would consider reasonable. Okay, reasonable. So there isn't reasonable recourse to their system, and their system is based on the fact that you're going to do what they tell you every time they tell you, and they don't have to tell you why, but you're just going to be made to do that. Now, I'm not a dog, okay, and I'm not their property. And I don't listen to people who have things appearing out of their head tell me what to do. So it was actually a kind of interesting observation. My wife saw what happened, so that there were actually two witnesses to this, and then the local police representative, a police officer, actually talked to me afterward, and I will have to say, all right, and I mean this, the law enforcement officers, those people with a duty and obligation to perform their function, have performed beyond my expectation. Actually, it was a local police officer. It was the first one that actually sat down and took the time to listen to what I was saying. The only one. I mean, I'm talking about attorney generals. I'm talking about district attorney's office. I'm talking about even the Texas Rangers. One man actually sat down, and it was him, and he arranged the meeting, right? And of course, everybody was afraid of me, and they thought I was a threat. So my wife and I, Elian, or Beebles, we were searched to make sure that nothing unusual was going to happen. And of course, it was funny for me and my wife because we don't do that. So, and we got in there, and oh, heaven forbid that I would appear. Oh my gosh, they'd be startled, and it's I don't know if I really want to do that to people of that sort, because if I just appeared, who knows what could happen? They could freak out and hurt themselves. So it's kind of a weird situation. So it was actually kind of funny. When he says, well, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, and I says, well, you don't have lawful authority, so that's where we're at, I guess, huh? And he actually smiled there. He smiled. He wasn't a law enforcement agent. He was a revenue officer, and the law enforcement officers, Ted, told us that there has to be a law enforcement officer present to make sure that everything was okay. And that's what the agents of the U.S. Treasury were there for, to just make sure that everything was okay and everything was right and settled. And so I basically told the revenue agent, okay, you just go ahead and commit your crime. That's okay. So, and I told him, I says, look, I'm not going to resist you. There's no need for me to resist. You don't have my consent. Okay, you don't have my consent, but I'm not going to resist. All right, so, and that goes for any of you out here hearing that. Okay, there is no need, there is no need, absolutely no need for any kind of protest, any kind of action. Either pro or con. No. You can just sit there and withdraw your consent. And you don't have to resist. In fact, don't resist, because if you resist, then they can take that as a failure of compliance, which is actually funny because they don't have an enforceable contract for me to actually be in compliance with. So it's not a matter of compliance. It's a matter of the applicability of the law or the statute or the code, and they haven't demonstrated that, and I haven't willingly placed myself under their jurisdiction, even though they have presumed that I have. It was obvious by their actions. So I don't want anybody to freak out. All right, don't freak out. There's no need. All right, all you really should be doing is just simply decide that you're going to be responsible, withdraw your consent, and don't resist. Absolutely not. There's no reason to resist. Just do what you do and just let's see what happens. Okay? But one thing you can do, however, is pay attention. Remember, that's the only obligation you truly have, is to pay attention and just watch what happens. Now, the On Guard video, probably the most popular video I put out so far. People are watching it. People are interested in it. I've got so many people now that have subscribed to the channel. There's been 1,300 views, and maybe that's all we need to do. If we can just simply spread that message, and the other videos like Tron, or heaven forbid you watch Spot On. That's a little over the top, I understand, but you know what? There's some ideas in there that I think people can understand. That's what I think we need to do. I think we just need to be aware, pay attention, right, and see if we can actually, look and perhaps question where we're at, and maybe we can make some decisions that are actually going to be helpful to everybody, most especially the people who think their system has the lawful authority. That's pretty scary. If I was afraid of stuff, I could be afraid that, that all of these men that are walking around with guns and stuff just have the power to go and do to me anything that they want. I'm going to let them. But you know what? I'm still here in the woodshed, and I'm okay, right? And who knows? Right now, this was their last chance. All right, so I've met my duty. Okay, so technically, whatever happens now is in the hands of On. And I happen to think that On is able to move on people and just simply subtly change a little thing. See, before I had a hard time telling people about this kind of thing, about the law and about looking at things in a different way. Most people just couldn't hear it. But suddenly, people can hear it. People know what I'm talking about. There's an increase in consciousness. There's an increase in awareness. And I think that that's a good thing. And I think ultimately that's really what's going to get us out of it. The more and more people that are actually aware, the less power the people on the other side who still believe in legal positivism are going to have, because they have to. They have their weak spot is consent. Right, that's their weak spot, and it's really a subtle weak spot. I mean, for those of you folks out there that think, oh, signs and wonders, you're waiting for the world to come in the end. Oh, it's October 16th, everything's going to rain down. There's going to be hellfire and demons popping up out of the ground. One thing I've learned about On's pretty subtle and really doesn't need massive calamities to get people's attention. It could be just very subtle. Very subtle. Very smooth, very easy. All of a sudden, people start seeing things in a different way. All over the world. And not just the people that are subjected to it, but the people that are trying to do these things. They're suddenly going to realize, what am I doing here? Is that the kind of world that I want to live in? Where somebody can just come and do anything to me against my will anytime they want? And they don't even have to substantiate it in a meaningful way? They could just presume me to be, their slave or a dog, and then just march right in and do anything they want? See, I haven't asked for anything unreasonable. I said, well, hey, if you're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and you're going to presume a contract, which was kind of interesting when the revenue agents, when I said, you don't have an enforceable contract. And he says, well, you don't have a contract with me. Well, okay, then why am I talking to you then? Okay, where is the guy or where is the man or woman that I do have a contract with? And why isn't he here? Why are you here? Let me meet that man. I would really talk. I'd really like to talk to him. I'll bet you that man actually has within him forgiveness. I bet you that man would actually listen to me. I bet you that the man who allegedly has the contract, or claims he has the contract, would actually sit down with me and, we can talk and, we can have finger sandwiches or whatever. And, just sit back and we could discuss theology and philosophy. And I'll bet we could come to a reasonable understanding. But that's not today. And unfortunately, all reasonable alternatives have been pursued. But that doesn't mean that we need to take unreasonable means, right? Okay, they've deprived us right now of reasonable means, but that doesn't mean that we have the power to resort to unreasonable means. Okay, we are not them. Or at least I'm not them. And I'm not going to condone or advocate any of this. Okay, you folks that get mad and burn police cars and throw stuff and burn and kick in the windows of athletic footwear stores, don't bother. You're not with me. Now, if you want to comport yourself like a human being in a responsible way. And hey, if you want to help me spread this message, by all means, happy. Hey, if you want to remix some of these and put a soundtrack in, or put like moose ears on me or moose antlers, hey, that's fine. Give me a call. I'll send you the video. We could probably make this a little bit more exciting. But get the message out. That'll help. I don't think that what I'm talking about is very hard for people to understand. And I think that most of us want to be in a world where we have the ability to determine what we're going to subject ourselves to, and that we know what it is, know the contracts and the terms that we've entered into, and the agreements and the obligations, right? And I think that if you're going to come up with an agreement or a social contract, that it should be something that's easily understood. But quite frankly, right now as it stands, just Washington D.C. alone is filled with warehouses and warehouses of policies and statutes that you can't read in your lifetime, yet they expect you to abide by it. I mean, it just boggles my mind. And they say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, really, you have no capacity to actually read their contract. And even more funny, too, is the people that are actually enacting this stuff, a lot of them don't even read this stuff anymore. Right? And there's a lot of countries out there that think that they have some sort of protection, that their national government actually has protection, but they don't, because they've signed all of that away when they joined the UN. And the UN, I don't know if I really trust them. I'll bet you if I was able to ask the Rwandans or the people in Zimbabwe, they probably wouldn't trust him either. Not only that, but I mean, look at what's been done in the name of the UN. Hey, I mean, we got entities like NATO and these guys. I don't know who they're listening to, but I don't think it's us, because I don't necessarily think that it's in any of our interests to just fight and fight and fight and fight and kill people and kill children and poison large areas of the land. And I'll bet you those people in Fallujah are probably not very pleased with the UN, or even Palestinians for that matter. I mean, I don't think anybody's listening to them. Of course, I mean, granted, I mean, when people think that they have to resort to blowing themselves up, man, that's pretty extreme. Okay, but somebody has to ask, well, why is it that these people think that they have to resort to that? I mean, this is an important question. Why? Like suicide bombers. You're going to put a bomb on you and you're going to go and blow yourself up, but that's your only recourse. And then wow, I imagine if I was a group of people and I was negotiating with, let's say, another nation that was abusing me, and I had to talk to somebody like I talked to today. I don't understand it, but really, I mean, really, this man that I spoke to today, I couldn't consider him an advocate. I couldn't consider him somebody who was really concerned with my welfare. And I can't expect him to be. I think that's my responsibility. His responsibility is actually to comport himself. And all I really want these guys to do is actually follow their own procedures and their own policies. And that's all. And they don't seem to realize that, hey, we should all be on the same side here. If you believe that you have a valid contract, then you should have no problem demonstrating that. If you have valid statute, right, that's founded in law, then you should be able to demonstrate that. If you can't, if you resort to intimidation, if you refuse to do that, and quite frankly, this meeting wasn't recorded, so it was done in secret. Now, I understand that they don't want to divulge my tax information, but I started looking at that. Why not? Why not? as far as right to privacy, who am I actually hiding it from? It seems to me that the NSA and the other government organizations have been reading all my email and going through my Facebook and monitoring all my telephone conversations. What do I have left to hide? Right? So they're going to protect my right to privacy. They haven't yet, so I think it's kind of funny that they'd actually say that. But I don't know. I look at this and the more I think about it, the less I understand, and the more I think about it, and the more I observe, the more I have to conclude that they don't understand it either, and that's the problem. So I think that as a responsible man, they're doing what they're doing, and I can only do what I do, and show them what responsibility is, and show them what a human being is. And perhaps one day they'll look and say, you know what? I think he's got something there. I think he's got something there. So we'll see. I happen to believe that this message is actually going to penetrate and actually be useful to people. And all I can do is watch, pay attention, and I suggest you do the same. Pay attention, because chances are you're going to see something very interesting. I have. The more I watch, the more I pay attention, the more wonderful things become. And this is no exception. I mean, this has been a wonderful education, all of it. Even this meeting, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from this meeting. I can't say that it wasn't worth it. Okay, I appreciate it. So I really like to thank all of the law enforcement officers that have taken the time to actually really outstanding, and I really appreciate it. And I want you all to know out there that, and I mean it, there are dedicated law enforcement officers here in this country and overseas. All right, and I have to count them as my friend, because I haven't seen anything to overturn that conclusion. In every case, I have witnessed flawless, and truly wonderful, and attentive, and specific, and great attention to detail, right? And compassion, and awareness. I mean, it's been outstanding. It's been quite amazing. I mean, I'm just deeply impressed. But you know what? I didn't expect anything different. These men and women have been outstanding. So I just want to leave you with that. Okay? If you want to help, pay attention. If you want to get the message out, hey, I think it's in your interest. It's in my interest. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because, I think I want to live in a world where I get to say what it is that I'm obligated to. I want that freedom. I want that freedom. I can't say that I have that now. Certainly not within the system. Outside of the system, I do. On is there, and he's teaching me this through this. So just relax. It's okay. You could just withdraw your consent. Don't have to resist. Don't resist. Don't resist. Just withdraw your consent, and let's all just see what happens, huh? Okay, I'm Roge. Still in the wood shop. You have a good day.